I don't know about you, but after every shoot, I like to clean my lights. Real clean. Try that at home. Well, at least with the 600, the light fixture, that's IP66 rated. But in today's video, I really want to focus in on color temperature, because what's unique about this shoot is this is the widest color temperature range I've ever used in a light fixture. The 600C and 150C light from Nebula are rated from 20,000 all the way down to 1,000 in the CCT Kelvin range. So I brought in Nick Pilecki to help me craft some scenes that would have a true variety of color temperature, and honestly for us, just really explore pushing the boundaries of those color temperature ranges and see how it interacted with the skin tones of our subject. And so we'll explore those results in this video and talk about how you can use color temperature to enhance your cinematography. Full disclosure, Nanlux did provide the lights for this shoot, and Nick and I get to keep the 600 and 150C after this shoot. Let's jump into this. So to start off with here, Nick and I went into the basement of Evil Empire Studios, which, fun fact, this is actually Nikola Tesla's power substation or dungeon. And from there, we decided to set up where our shot was going to be. So of course we went for where there was the most depth, but down there in that space, there was a ton of work lights on the wall. So it was just really bright. So the first thing we did, as always, is we turned off all the lights and we began to slowly add in just little pools of light, from our moonlight in the background to our hair lights to our side light, meticulously crafting the shot. Lighting a scene is a bit like drawing a picture, where you actually just want to add in each color, or rather each light one at a time, rather than just setting them all at once and trying to perfect the shot simultaneously. I find it's good practice to focus on what each light is doing, seeing if it's actually helping the scene. And in the end, here's where we ended up. So down here in the basement, one of the things that Nick and I wanted to test with this 150 and the 600 was the fact that it has such a wide color temperature range, from 1,000 to 20,000. Lights usually, in your experience, Nick, the warmest lights you'll find on set are like 2,000 to
2,000 to 10,000, but even that's more like the last couple of years generation. Even if you're looking at something like a 3-year older light, probably 2,700 to 6,500 is like, that is what some bicolor lights fall under.
And a lot of lights do fall apart after 2,700. So to do the setup, we had the candles, and we actually wanted to make the candle one of the brightest things in the shot, but then also make the light hitting Elisha's face warmer than the candle. And candlelight lands at about 2,500 Kelvin, but this light was able to go to 1,000. 1,000 is crazy. That is like red at that point.
Yes.
So we were actually around, I believe, 1,500, I believe.
We were floating around anywhere from like 1,300 to 1,600. You would think flame would be like a tungsten bulb, like this is a constant thing, but it actually fluctuates.
As you can see on Elisha's face here, we were able to get a really nice warm light, and we were bouncing this light off of a Muzz. At first we were using a projector lens, if I'm not mistaken, and we decided that wasn't able to get the spread.
When it was bouncing, it was just too tight of a square on our bleached Muzz, so we just took it off and went barefaced with the fixture so that it spread more, because the larger your relative source is to your subject, the softer the wrap will be.
Another thing we were able to do with this using the app, and you can also do it on the back, is we went into the scenes and we went to candlelight flicker, and we dialed that all the way back down to 1%. So what you're actually seeing on her face, that's not actually that candle flickering, it's actually our light just transitioning variance, and I think it must actually be changing a bit of the color temperature too in there, slightly.
Some of the presets for a lot of these lights, they're not great out of the box, but I love how detailed and controlled you can get by doing like, okay, I want it to range between 1 and 2%,
yeah,
and I want it to have this color temperature range of 400 Kelvin. Just being able to dial in what you're after, I think, is such a big aspect of what makes these lights great.
Breaking this setup down, then we had that as our key on her, the Pavo Slim as our side light.
Yep.
And then you and I fought for a while about having a hair light, which was a Pavo Slim tube. But why I believe this hair light works in this scenario is we had the 600C punching through that hole in the ceiling, which all of us were afraid to fall through. And we had that all the way.
I think it was 13,000.
13,000, which is what this looks like right here.
Yeah, and I love, usually for commercial narrative work, I like a stark cyany blue moonlight. I don't know if that's something my brain has just been cued to. I don't like moonlight that goes to the purple realm. I don't like stark white moonlight. Like, this is all your choice. And to be able to do this with color temperature and not have to pop over to an RGB or HSI mode was exciting.
Besides being waterproof, another unique feature of the Fresnel lens on the 600C is that it actually has a motorized spot and flood functions. So if you have this light way up on a stand, you can actually use your app remotely to change it from spot to flood. And so we were doing this when we were down in the basement of the building so that we could change that setting.
Why I like having that wide kind of Kelvin range to work with is rather than getting into RGB and kind of aimlessly and almost arbitrarily like being like, go to 187 red. Right now we're working on just one consistent spectrum. To me, that just seems easier to work with than having the full map of color to have to dial through. And so here, I think we actually got on the app. You're using your phone to control this. And we jumped in here, went all the way to one, right there. That's about...
That might be 1100.
Yeah,
1200, 1100 there. So you can start to see how like red sodium vapor-esque, like this is not a color. This is a CCT on our, standard color line, not popping over to RGB mode. So with just like the one slider, you can get some pretty wild looks going.
You can just see in this scene right now, and I encourage you to get onto your lights and mess with color temperatures. I think the most dynamic aspect of this shot isn't necessarily the shallow depth of field or even the fact that we're short-sighting here. To me, it's the variety of color temperatures, and we haven't gone into anything goofy here. We haven't thrown like a green slash or like a purple haze. You have our moonlight, we have our backlight hitting here, we have the much warmer, I just love how warm that is on our skin there. And then the candlelight's appearing white here, and same with this tungsten light on here, and we have our other candles along the floor here that are a bit closer to, I would say, 2000. But as you can see, it hasn't made her look suddenly like orange.
It's sitting in a well-balanced place, which I like. And something I've been digging lately with lighting is hitting the face with two lights as kind of like, I'll call them both key lights. You're coming in with a little bit harder of a side light, which can be direct. And then I'm bouncing from the front. And then that way you can almost control what style of look you're going for. Like, do I want a hard edge on the face and then just barely feel the wrap? Do I want a little bit less of a kicker here and feel a lot of the wrap and lift the face? It's just like you're getting more control by separating that into two lights rather than just having one soft 45-degree key light.
How do we make it look a little less lit?
We can take that down to 1%, but I think that motivates nicely from these lights here. I think that's the type of light that you'll like in post.
Or can we see it off again?
I believe that more.
Yeah, I hear you.
But there's two options. Comment, like, and subscribe below to let us know. Yeah, we didn't have any candles, so this is what's gonna work, a tea light. Happy birthday to you. Now you get to lick the bottom. I just wanted to point out, so we went into the RGB mode here, and you can just see case in point of what we've been actually talking about here is
that red there, that there is what I try to avoid. That looks like there's almost clamping or clipping of the skin, where I know there's a variation in the cheek that goes away with red, and now I just have this flat red wash on her left cheek.
Versus when we started off here.
Like I can see the cheekbone, I can see the gradation from light to dark.
If you guys enjoy Nick's teaching in cinematography, you actually can get coached with him one-on-one in our Cinepath Pro course, and that's available during Black Friday at incredible discount of 40% off. He also teaches in Cinematic Eye as well. We have a whole suite of other courses in Art of Documentary. If you want more information about that, leave me a message below or reach out to us on Instagram.
No, we're gonna pour water on it after.
Is it waterproof?
Yeah, it's waterproof.
This thing's waterproof?
Yeah. That's the whole point of this, is that we could have this light. If this was actually raining, we could have this light outside.
That's so scary.
That's insanity.
Yeah.
That felt like it.
That was not scripted. I know that felt like You're telling me?
No way. Nick and I headed upstairs, and originally what we were going to do on this shoot, our whole plan, because when Nanlux mentioned these lights to us and said that they were IP66, like they could take direct water stream, heavy rain, we're like, great, let's wait till we get a rainy day, and let's get everyone out in the rain, keep these lights out there, and we'll really push them to their pace.
Who's got a schedule for that?
But it's October in Canada, and there's always rain.
Experienced a record-setting snowfall yesterday.
But lo and behold, instead of rain, we've got a snowstorm this past week. So we had to head indoors to the Evil Empire studio to pull off this rain look. We simply got out our garden hose, and it was actually Nick's suggestion that was interesting, is at first I had it just pointed down at the car, but you had to flip the hose upside down so that it spread out more and gave it more of a real rain look rather than being so focused on one area.
Kind of like the bounce version of light. Because if you think about rain falling, rain is like passively falling from clouds. It's not actively being shot at you. So like to let it like umbrella up and fall.
We let gravity do the work rather than the pressure of the hose do the work.
Yeah.
So take us through this shot, Nick.
I start with what I can't control. I can't make the 600C brighter than 100%. That is not possible. So I kind of put that up first, and I'm like, where do I need to balance the camera to get the most exposure, the most shape? And then I start thinking to myself, well, where can I fill in the gaps with my other fixtures? So I'm thinking big to small. So then I brought in the 150C, which is like the light on her neck, the light in the steering wheels, and just bringing in edge from frame left. Then as we wrap around the car, because I know our talent's going to be looking at someone in the front seat, looking at her phone, there's just always this sense of like, I find directors always like, well, I don't want to feel too lit, but also I miss it when there's not an eye light there or a catch light when we're looking where the talent's going to be. There's just something nice about that. So we brought in a Pavo Slim through a 4x of, I think, 250 diffusion, might have been full grid. And it's just something to kind of pluck the eye out when I know that she's going to be turning towards camera.
And then, of course, we had a big black void, being that it's a black interior in the car. So we grabbed one of our Pavo Slim tubes, and as we've taught before, we went vertical so that it could be more of a hard light. If you have your tubes vertical, they're going to be just hitting a hard, more specific location with light. But when you go sideways, again, it's now spreading out. It's that idea, like we're saying, it's almost like it's bouncing. So you're going to get more of a softer look for it. So we went vertical with that tube, and that's when we were able to kind of hit the side of the car here. And this helped too when she was leaning out, and it gave us just a bit more edge along the seats so you could actually see them rather than just having this big black void around her.
In general, when I light things, I try to land the skin tone exactly where I want it, but the rest of the scene I will actually overlight because it's a lot easier to pull things back in the grade than it is to look at a dark part of your frame and lift it back up in post. So basically in the grade, I don't like messing with the face, but the rest of the frame can be power windowed, vignetted down. Like I would rather have the options to see like, well, how much detail do we want to see behind the seat? Because if that's sitting at 0 IRE in your log, there's no information to be brought back there.
So somehow we're not flooding this building. I don't understand how it works, but
It goes all directly to the basement.
Yeah, exactly. Right now, what are we at, Nick? We're at 20,000.
I think we're around 13,000
yeah.
on both those, which are the new C-Series lights. And then this one is at as cool as it will go, which is 7,500 Kelvin. Quite a bit cooler on these two, which has helped sell our kind of like surreal moonlight a bit better than this guy, but this still works for a wrap.
This was a fun little trick. I got my iPhone out, and what's so funny is the iPhone you think normally would be really cool, like as in its color temperature would be a bit.
That's true.
But because we are running over at friggin' 13,000 on this, you can see.
Yeah, it actually does look like the warmer
Yeah,
version
it looks like the
of your
warmer
light.
light. But this is just us with the iPhone passing over to give the kind of the effect of a car going by, and that's that. At that point, it was just Landon on our team just doing this, doing circles, and I paid off. I believe it. I think if there was one takeaway I had from this shoot is that you are always bouncing your lights. It's very rare that you're shooting a light directly onto the stage of where your talent is. For me, it's making me want to get a little less lazy. Sometimes I just pop things through a modifier and call it a day, but I'm always noticing you doing book lights or bouncing it or just having a couple layers of diffusion.
I just think you can fine tune your look a little bit more. I'm definitely guilty of over lighting scenes, but usually when I ask myself, is this too many lights? And I start taking away lights. I'm like, but I miss it.
Yes. That's what happened for us. I looked at it, I was like, this is too lit. And then I would take away, I'm like, I missed that light.
Yeah, you're developing your tastes. It doesn't hurt on set to on off a light and just be the judge of like, do I like what I'm seeing? That is the job at the end of the day.
And just running over the specs on these lights and kind of what makes them unique. They use a Nebula C8 chip, which I wasn't familiar with before. There's things like RGB and RGBW, but these would give you richer and more accurate color.
Like I think we were down to 2%
exactly
on the 150 for this.
And that's one thing you got excited about when we first used these lights that I didn't actually kind of realize till we were executing on the day. And I probably just made the mistake that I've done this is most lights, once you get below 5%, kind of fall apart.
Yeah.
But because of the color accuracy that we were finding with these, you can have these lights super dim and you're not just having to keep throwing ND on your camera.
Or putting nets in front of your light to take them down.
Exactly.
Even if you're not using a very sensitive camera, we were at a very modest 800 EI here, and I still wanted the light at 2% to get this look. If I was shooting on a camera that had 12,800, you can imagine how much more valuable it is having a light going down to 0.2% to get that exposure level that you want.
Nick, I'm going to put you to the test. Can you name the C8 all of the color?
Okay, so they make you go from red to cyan. So I'm going to say it's red, orange, amber, yellow, lime, green, cyan, blue, or indigo. I think that was pretty good. Deep red, red, amber. I said lime, green, cyan, blue, indigo. I got like 6 of them right.
Pretty right. Yeah. Amazing, Nick. Always enjoy shooting with you. If you guys enjoy Nick and want to have actual conversations with him or be part of over 50 videos that go through the in-depth career path of becoming a cinematographer, then check him out in Cinepath Pro. That's over in Art of Documentary. As well as we mentioned, all of our courses are on sale during Black Friday for Art of Documentary. And if you missed that, get on our wait list because our doors open a couple times a year, just twice a year and usually one sale at Black Friday. Nick, always enjoy shooting with you. Thank you for being an exceptional teacher and being patient with me on set whenever I tell you to, it looks overlit. When is it offensive when I say it looks Disney?
I don't get offended by that. Some Disney movies look great.
It's a healthy collaboration to hear somebody else's notes out.
And even if they're just blunt.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Even if their notes are that it looks like hot garbage.
I'm like, ooh, I go to my gaffer. I'm like, hey, what's our hot garbage knob at? If it's at full right now, we gotta dial that back.
I think hot garbage is 100 Kelvin. Huge shout out to Nick Pilecki for helping make this shoot happen and lending his cinematic eye on set, as well as the guys over at Evil Empire Studios for letting us use their space, and of course to Nanlux for providing this gear and helping make this video happen. This was great. Again, get out there and practice. I can't encourage you more to get on set and try something you haven't before. Don't leave it to the moment when you're working with a client and there's a lot more pressure. Do it on a day where no matter how much you screw up, even if you formatted the card, no one would be upset. All right, you have a good one.